What is going on, everyone? How are you doing? I hope you're doing good, because it is good to feel good. Now, this video is different from what I usually upload, so for example, there's no intro, no outro, no background music, no like quirky bits or anything like that in this video today, because this video is basically a little tribute video, because as you can tell from the title of this video, this is me remembering my nana, Maureen Elgar, and today, oddly enough, is a month since she passed away, so if there's going to be some tears in this video, perhaps, I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, today is a month since my nana passed away. In fact, I thought I might as well get her in, because it's not been an easy month, if I'm being quite honest. So yeah, so this last month has been difficult in places, because I think just coming to terms with it and, like, you know, processing everything that happened, and just, it's been, you know, some aspects of this I found quite easy, but then at the same time there's a lot that I found quite difficult throughout all of this. And I think it's just, like, you know, for me, it's the acceptance of knowing that, you know, she's not here anymore. I can't have a chat with her or anything like that. I can only think of the memories I have, and, you know, memories are special, and, you know, you should really cherish those memories hard. But when it comes to, like, grieving someone you love dearly, like, I mean, I've dealt with grief before, and, you know, people dying. You know, I've dealt with my granddad dying, who is my nana's husband, or who was my nana's husband. I dealt with my grandpa dying a few years ago, and then now I'm dealing with grieving my nana. It's, yeah, as I say, it's not been easy in places, and I think it's just, given everything that's happened in the last few years, has really kind of led to, like, you know, this, if I'm being quite honest. So, to give a bit of background, 4 years ago was when she was first diagnosed with cancer. I didn't mention it at the time, but I did mention in a video a little down the line about her being diagnosed with cancer, and in fact that was the same video that I announced I was doing that charity fun run. So, and coincidentally on that same day was when we found out she was cancer free, so that was a massive sigh of relief we all breathed that day. I think we're all quite overjoyed and, you know, over the moon about that news, and, like, I think, you know what, if she could tackle on cancer, she could tackle on anything. That's what I was thinking then, and, you know, everything went, you know, smooth sailing after that. You know, she was fine, you know, she had a few, like, little, like, you know, hiccups, but, like, you know, not major illnesses or anything like that. But then, then about 2.5 years later, she was then diagnosed with cancer again. And this was, what, September last year? Yeah, it was September. I remember finding out the news, and then this happened during lockdown last year, and obviously at the point where, you know, we were not allowed to see like, you know, people outside of our household, basically. And that was tough for me. I think just the entirety of last year was spent not seeing my nana whatsoever, and I think that had a real impact on me. If I had had the chance to see her, I would have loved to have seen her, but obviously I was never able to see her. And in fact, funnily enough, she was meant to come down to us when we used to live down south in Bedfordshire. She was meant to come down to us when, you know, we were still there, but then literally just days before that was when the government had announced, you know, the first lockdown was to come into effect. So that meant, yeah, she wouldn't be able to come. That put the kibosh on that. So last year, being with my nana last year was more or less relegated to just, you know, Zoom calls, you know, the good phone chat every now and then, you know, maybe FaceTime or wherever I can. But yeah, there was no me seeing her face to face, which really did make me quite upset in places, because, you know, I would have loved to have been able to be with my nana, especially during this, you know, tough period for her that was then. But in a reassuring sense, we got some good news back in January earlier this year, and that was that she was announced as cancer free again. So again, another big sigh of relief from all of us. But that sigh of relief was temporary, because my nana was diagnosed with cancer again in February of this year. In fact, this time it was terminal. And just realising that, you know, time was going to be really short, and, you know, I had this immediate feeling of, like, you know, how long has she got left? I mean, we didn't know at the time how much longer she had left, but that was just all kind of wait and see. We didn't want to find out anything because we just wanted it to be a case of, you know, we know it's terminal, but we want to make every day count. So one of my favourite things that I really enjoyed about, you know, moving up north to Gisborough early this year was that, in fact, it's been 6 months since we moved up here, so that's crazy in itself. But one of the nice things about all of this was that we were able to come up and see my nana, like, every so often, you know, from where I am in Gisborough, as opposed to South Shields and in South Tyneside where she was living. That was only an hour away, so it was more or less a case of just being able to, you know, get a chance to, you know, come up every so often and, you know, get a chance to see her. I remember I cried the first time I'd seen her since moving up here. And I realised, you know, time was short for her, and, you know, every moment that I shared with her in these last few months of her life was going to be precious. And, you know, every visit, you know, get a chance to see her, and even my brother got a few chances to see her as well. And one of the nicest things was getting a chance to be with her on her birthday as well. She turned 77 back in August, and not only was I there, but also my mum, my dad, and quite a lot of my extended family were there. So I think this is a bit crazy. I'll get on to this in a sec, but just, you know, from my nana and my granddad, you know, they had a massive, like, you know, extended family. And it's crazy to think that, you know, some of these people I don't even know of. Like, you know, I've met these people over the years, but just some people I've never met before. And, you know, it's nice to, you know, get to finally meet them and, you know, interact with them, have chats with them and all sorts. But yeah, that was nice to see her. That was probably, in my opinion, one of the last, like, little bits of joy that she had before she passed away. I think as well, like, after her birthday, I remember her just, you know, in the last few weeks of her life, she really did start to wind down. Like, I feel like her birthday was like the last little bit of joy that she had, you know, to enjoy herself and that, and, you know, the last little bit of good energy that she had, because as the few weeks that would go by before she died, I remember just hearing about how she was having good days, she was having bad days, and, you know, she was really starting to decline, she was. And I remember, in particular, the last time that I saw her was literally just a few days before I headed to Croatia, and I remember, like, you know, having some last little precious moments with my nana. And I always think to myself, if you're going to have some last moments with somebody before they die, make them special, make them precious, always hold on to that. And I remember just, you know, telling her about, you know, some of the, you know, first of all, some of the fun people that I know in my life, and I showed her some pictures of my friends, and not just pictures, but also a few little videos of, like, you know, some of the fun stuff that me and my friends had gone up to over time, and, you know, some of the fun stuff that we've done throughout the summer. And she got really good vibes from quite a lot of my friends, so that's good. And I remember one of the last little conversations I had with her was just talking about, you know, she didn't want me to worry about her overall, especially while I was away. And then she told me that, you know, have a great time in Croatia. And then I remember by just holding her hand and telling her, you know, I will have a great time, and hopefully when I get back I'll show you some fun stuff that I got up to while I was there. And I also remember telling her how much I loved her there. I remember leaving her house that day, realising that was the last time that I saw her. I think I knew heading there that it was going to be the last time I would see her, because I was ultimately expecting her to go within a few days of that. And I remember it hit me hard quite a lot while I was in Croatia, because me and my friend Daisy had just gotten up to this, viewpoint overlooking Split, as I mentioned, the one with the cross, and I had the sunset in the background. And I remember just, my mum calling me, telling me the news, and I remember just for a few seconds going numb, and then just sitting down on the floor and just breaking down, because that was the best way I felt to cope with it. And that wasn't easy. That wasn't an easy point for me, because I'd lost someone dearly that I loved. And I just didn't know how to process it at the time. Like, again, we all grieve differently, but I just process it as, it's happened. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was inevitable, but just how I did find out was hard. But at the same time, I felt a bit at peace knowing, I was in a peaceful spot where I found out the news, and also the cross and then the sunset in the background, while I'm not a religious person, but I would say it was almost fitting that I found out the news there, because I knew, again, peaceful spot, and that she was at peace. Since I've been back from Croatia, I would say things, likewise, like my nana was having, I've had on days and off days. I remember one day in particular, I'd just finished working 6 straight days at work, back to back, and I remember just, getting home and just breaking down in tears because of how I felt. And, that wasn't easy. And just I think we've all got different, coping mechanisms and that, but I just found it so hard knowing that, she wasn't here. I couldn't have a chat with her. I wasn't able to, pick up the phone and speak to her or anything like that. I just didn't have that anymore. I think just the whole concept of, someone no longer being alive and, not being able to chat to them really does hit you hard in the first few weeks, and that's how I felt. But at the same time, I really appreciate, the reassurance that I've had from my friends throughout this. Especially, I'm just going to shout them out because they've been amazing and helpful for me throughout this period. Coral, Becca, Daisy, Ethan, you guys have been absolutely wonderful and really helped me out in places during this difficult period. I'm so thankful for these friends. I just am really thankful for the continued support of me throughout this period, and just having nice chats with them, and them giving me some reassurance again has really helped. And I also want to thank you guys for the flowers you sent me and my family, because that was a really lovely gesture, and it really goes nicely with the flowers. We've received all sorts of flowers and sympathy cards and all sorts from people, and it's just been lovely. And that was lovely of them to do that. And then just this last week we've had the funeral, and that was a lovely little send-off for her. It was again nice to be with extended family again, as well as, my immediate family, and then, friends of my nana as well. So I remember the hearse turning up with her coffin, and it turned up it was quite fitting that it just returned to our house one last time before we then headed to the crematorium for the service. And I remember her coffin, it was a wicker coffin, and I remember it being loads of flowers on, a nice picture of my nana, and then from me and my brother there was a nice bouquet of flowers with Nana on it, and that was lovely to see. I mean, it was sad to see, because I remember myself crying and my mum crying, and then eventually we got to the crematorium. I, along with my brother and my dad, we helped carry my nana's coffin into the crematorium and starting the service, and that was a lovely service, that was. And I want to shout out the celebrant who spoke about my nana and briefly touched upon, you know, some of the amazing things that she did, and then after that my mum spoke, and then I spoke about, you know, just some of the fun memories, not just her, but my late granddad as well, gave to me and my brother growing up. And she really made things special for us whenever we were with them. And like, whether that be like, you know, on holiday in Benidorm, or even just being up there, or even when she was down with us, whenever our parents were busy. So they were absolutely incredible grandparents, and I couldn't ask for some better grandparents, if I'm being quite honest. In a way, like, in context of my mum, if my mum was ever busy, Nana would always step in and act like our second mum, basically, and, you know, she always did things for us with the best of intentions. So I really thank my Nana in that regard. I also remember, not just me speaking, by the way, and my mum speaking, but also my Nana's partner as well, Derek, was speaking, and, you know, he wrote a lovely letter that he wanted to read out there, and that had me crying as well. And I remember a last little bit of crying as well when the service was finishing and the curtains were closing on my Nana's coffin. I've forgotten how you pronounce his name. Israel Kamakawi Weole, I think is how you pronounce his name. His rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow played as the service was finishing, and my mum, my dad, Derek, my Nana's partner, and myself we were in the front row and we were just crying, because in a sense that was like kind of like the last time that, you know, Nana's physical presence was felt. And then, you know, we left the service. There was some flowers outside for her as a little tribute to her. And then also, after all that, it was nice to receive so many nice compliments for the speech that I did about my Nana. But I do miss her. That's the crux of this, is I miss her so much. And I understand, you know, there's no way of like being able to bring her back or anything like that. I can only hold on to the good memories that I have of being with my Nana, and I think that's the best thing you can really cherish. Nana did us proud. You know, she was a lovely woman, as I say, and wherever she was, she would just be, you know, kind of like a sparkle of joy in people's lives. And, you know, people were very fortunate to know her, and just, while she's not with us anymore, as I say, you know, we've all got the memories to cherish with her. So thank you, Nana. Thank you for being all that you could be for us. Thank you for being a kind mother to my mum. Thank you for being a kind mother-in-law to my dad. And thank you for being an amazing Nana to myself and my brother Matt. And I guess one day, if I ever have kids, or my brother has kids, then they'll essentially be her great-grandchildren. She'll never get to see them, which is sad, but even though my Nana's no longer here, her legacy lives on through not just my mum, but also me and my brother Matt. And then eventually one day, if we ever come to it, if we ever have kids, my Nana's legacy will live on through her great-grandkids, basically. She'll never get to meet them, but when I do, you know, speak to my kids, I will tell them of how amazing my Nana was, and, you know, some of the lovely things that she did for us, and, you know, hopefully through her inspiration do similar for my kids, and hopefully my mum, acting as their Nana, will do things for them like that as well. I'm really thankful for what my Nana was able to do in her life, and I do miss her, but you know what, just, you know, things will probably get easy over time. There's been all sorts of emotions from me today in this video, but you know what, it's nice to hold on to some lovely memories of her, and, you know, think about all the good stuff that she did for us growing up. I know I'm repeating myself in some of the things I'm saying, and also I'm quite tired as well recording this video, so I will sign off and just say one last thing about her. I'm going to just recite one thing that I said at my Nana's funeral. In fact, it's the last little paragraph that I have, and that is, I don't want to remember my Nana for the suffering that she went through in her final months. I want to remember her for being the kind, strong, resilient, nurturing woman that she was, not just to me and my brother, as well as my parents, but to everyone I was saying this to in attendance. Everyone here today, and you know that she had an impact on us all, and while her diagnosis might have been the final chapter in her life, there was an entire life story to her, 77 years, so basically a chapter for each year perhaps, and how we remember her is the never-ending epilogue. And I'm really thankful for that, for everything that you've given us, Nana. Me and my brother will continue to make you proud with whatever we do, and we will continue on your legacy. But anyway, I will sign off here. Thank you, Nana, once again. And I will leave you with some advice, and that is always to enjoy yourself, stay safe, and make the most of every opportunity that comes your way. Thank you for watching, and peace.